My name is Tori. Just making sure my necklace doesn't interfere with this. Does it come through okay?
Yeah, keep going a little bit.
Perfect. An orange juice. Doesn't look pulpy enough, but that's still okay.
You think about the people who are going to watch this. It's people who are interested in you and what you do.
Yeah.
People who are interested in athletics, or if they're not into Web3, but they're into athletics, I want them to understand that side. So
yeah. I've got my laptop here too, so it feels more familiar with my cafe scenes.
You can pull it out if you want.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We're on. Very typical. Every morning, pull out a laptop.
Yeah, so what do you do every morning?
I head to a cafe, I get a long black, and I open up my laptop and I actually just jump straight into work, because I find when I wake up, it's when I'm freshest. You know, sometimes I leave problems in yesterday and then I let sleep solve it. And then I wake up and I'm like, okay, I got a clear head, I can do this. So straight into code.
That's
so you can
sick.
see, just already got a project open.
That's cool.
Straight into it.
Straight into it.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go with a few quick fire questions. How would you describe yourself in 5 words?
Oh my gosh, I've never thought, okay.
Oh my god, that's not bad. Oh my gosh.
Unassuming,
Yeah.
ambitious, pensive at times. I don't know, this is a very hard question to answer. Because like, I'm trying to answer it as if, I don't know.
Yeah, that's all good.
It's very hard to answer, yeah. Huh? Unique.
Unique. 100%
I
unique.
think unique.
Yeah.
Unique and focused.
Yeah.
Very focused.
100%. How would you describe what you do to someone who has no idea what you do?
Well, the easiest thing is to say I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
I do athletics. I do track and field. I do heptathlon. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm building things that I really love.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I describe it.
Cool. What's your favourite food?
Steak.
Steak.
Yep.
Any veg?
Potatoes, if that counts.
Potatoes works, yeah.
Just steak, yeah.
I'm into that. What's a song that you've had on repeat lately?
Fred Again has this new song called Cautious.
Yeah.
It's not released yet, but he like has these sets that he plays often online on YouTube. And the second song was one of his really unreleased songs called Cautious. And as soon as I heard it, I just felt it and I was like, it's good.
Yeah. Are you a morning person or night owl?
Definitely a morning person, more recently. I used to be a night owl when I didn't sleep enough. And then I realized the value of sleep. And now I'm a morning person, so yeah.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
2 places. If it's Australia, it'd be like Palm Beach, Gold Coast.
Yeah.
If it's overseas, it'd be one of the Greek islands in Greece. Yeah.
What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Oh my gosh. I went to Europe for 5 months last year by myself. Didn't really have a plan, didn't really realize how long that was going to be. Knew I was going to do some events, but just did it. And it was the hardest, coolest, most draining thing I've ever done in my life.
Why was it so draining?
Because I guess it's hard to conceptualize how long 5 months is in your life, to not be in one spot. And like, I went to like, I think 7 different countries. So you're like having to organize like Airbnbs and travel in between and then compete at the same time. So it was like, I came back feeling very tired and very happy to be home.
Was that when you were doing the big run into the qualifyings?
No, that was last year. So last year I went to Europe for 5 months because I basically just missed out on so much competition because of COVID and all that. Yeah. So I decided to go to Europe and compete and do as many comps as I could just to like rebuild confidence. And it definitely set the foundation for qualifying for the Olympics this year. However, the performances weren't that great, but it gave me the confidence for this year. So.
And if you had a superpower, what would it be?
Emotional control.
That's a sick one.
Just like not reacting, like, you know, complete you want to feel your emotions, but I sort of want a better ability to isolate them and look at them in a box as opposed to like holding them here.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. We sort of touched on it before. So like, what does a typical day look like for you?
Wake up, get a coffee, do some work for a couple hours, depending on like, I probably only have a couple of hours of like really focused work before I get hungry. So have some breakfast, always have eggs for breakfast. Days vary, but on a day like today, I'll go to the track and do a track session, have lunch, go get a physio, see my physio. Sometimes an afternoon session, not always. And then I actually begin like winding down my day quite early, about 5. I try to eat before the sun sets and then do a bit more work if I need to. If not, I'll watch YouTube and just chill out and stretch.
So you got your pretty good circadian rhythm locked in.
Yes, very important. I've even got, I haven't got them here. Actually, maybe I do. I got blue light blockers. Oh yeah, I do. I got them. Blue light blockers.
And what's the book?
Oh, it's actually a really good book, Read, Write, Own. So I've been wanting to read this for a long time. There was a post on X or Twitter a while ago that was Read, Write, Own, and that's like basically blockchain like encompassed. And I'm not sure who originated that saying, but I'd seen this book circling around for a while, and I just finished a really hard book. I read Brothers by Dostoevsky, and it was like ridiculously hard to read, and I needed a lighter read, so I bought this book. So it's pretty interesting, and it aligns so well with what I'm trying to do, so it's really good.
So like read, write, own, what does that mean?
It means, so read, write, own is referring to data in the internet, right? The first era of internet was you just read static information on a website. The next iteration of it was writing, so people could read, but you could also contribute. So it's like Facebook, you can read other people's posts and you can write posts and write content. And the, I guess, next wave, which is the ownership wave, which is what I guess blockchain is, there is a way for people to own it or verify ownership. So it's
That's
kind of
very
abstract,
cool.
but it's the next era, yeah.
And so like, where did you first come across this concept? Like, where did you start learning about Web3 and like read, write, own?
I started learning about it in 2017. It's probably when I first started looking into it pretty seriously. I think I bought my first Ethereum back then. And it was just general interest because there was a lot of hype online. Like I was very much a product of, I guess, the internet generation, you know. I didn't finish my university degree. Instead, I chose a path where I was like learning stuff online and like watching YouTube videos and building projects I like. And that sort of takes you on a different journey of like information on the internet. And I sort of got led into the blockchain world and what it meant. And at the time, it was all purely like speculative. People were just buying to make money. But I was like really fascinated by the tech itself. But it probably wasn't, there was a little wave then, nothing really happened after that. And then in 2020 is when in COVID, right, when everything shut down, my athletics competitions like pretty much were nothing, there was nothing going on. I had a lot of spare time, and that's when I really started looking into blockchain tech and what it meant and what did ownership mean. And before that, I was very interested in money systems and how money worked and how it's like sort of derived in our confidence in it, and also like the government saying this is valuable. So it just, I don't know, I had a lot of time, had a lot of interest. The world had gone crazy and I was like, what is actually going on? And that's how I got into blockchain. And
That's so sick. So like, it's interesting because from my experience anyway, when it's people talk about Web3, it is like a lot to do with speculation. And I think that's all good, but I'm also massive into the tech. What do you think, like if you were to try to explain to someone who has no idea about Web3, outside the speculation, what do you think like the benefit is of something like Web3 industry?
The benefit is ownership completely. And what that means is it's hard to explain, you have to experience it. You know, it's like, I know I own my laptop. How do I know? Well, it's mine. I've got a record from, you know, Apple to say I bought it from their store and it's got my data on it, right? That's mine. Whereas in, I guess, current internet space, you have digital stuff online, but it's stored on Facebook or it's stored on Instagram, and you technically don't own it, but you have access to that account because you set the access. So it's very intricate. Whereas in blockchain world, you can just say, I own that, and I can pull that if I want to, and you can't touch that if that's mine. So I really like that aspect of it, and because I build digital products and I have an understanding of the data metric, like the data parts of things. There isn't, how do I explain it? For me, blockchain is purely about ownership, and also the idea, it's a completely different paradigm shift because value is derived by agreement. So if you and I can agree that this coffee is worth $10, then it is worth $10, and that's all that matters because we have agreement. And that is blockchain consensus in it of itself. And then blockchain ownership says that, that's completely yours, and we can verify this on this public ledger that everyone can see, and no one can tap into that and change it, and it's yours. And that's what immutability and public verification means. So these things aren't necessarily, they're hard concepts to understand, to be honest. So I'm really fascinated with building products that people get to experience it without having to understand it, and then they experience benefits of it. And that's very challenging, but very rewarding if we can pull it off.
When it comes to the Web3, like I feel the technology is for the devs, like yourself, and not for the consumer who's coming on board. And like, what has your experience been like when it comes to that?
100%. So with the stuff I'm building, we abstract away all the blockchain terminology because people don't need to know what an NFT is, or they don't need to know what a token is to benefit from what that technology can bring for them. So, and I think because it has been largely speculatively driven, everyone's just focused on, I can make money. As soon as I say blockchain, they're like, how am I going to make money off this? Is this a scam? Is this like dodgy? Because there's been a lot of foul players. But the truth is there actually hasn't been good consumer use cases for blockchain technology without the speculation around it. Because, people are driven by money. It's like an easy thing to go after. So in a way, because people are so focused on that stuff, the speculative side of it, it actually, if you are really deep in it and you just love the core technology and you're not sort of caught up in the whole dollars and whatever, there is huge opportunities to actually build stuff with the tech that actually solves real problems.
How would you describe to someone who doesn't need to know what an NFT is, how would you basically simplify that to what use case scenario that could be?
So the way there's two ways I sort of describe it for people. So I'll just touch on how I describe what a token is. A token is basically like money, right? It's fungible, we can break it down. So you have $1, I can break that down into 50 cents. So that's half of $1. So that's a token. It can be one token, it can be 0.5 of a token, it can be broken down to multiple decimal points and exchanged that way. And NFT, the value of it is its entirety. If I was to give you, I don't know, let's say this coffee, right? We can tokenize this. The value of it is the entire thing. You can't have the coffee without the cup, right? You need the cup and the coffee for it to be a cup of coffee of value that I can use. So an NFT has to have everything. You cannot take one part of it away and expect the value to still be there. It's just impossible. So if you think about that in terms of life, in real life circumstances, obviously token can be money, but if we want to tokenize a whole thing, property. Your property, what you buy, can be an NFT, right? It's entirety of it. And delving in deeper, you can break it down in little bits, but that's a dev thing, whatever. Your car can be tokenized. I think there's going to be a world in the future where everything will be tokenized in some way. Everything will be digital ownership. So it will be a real thing with verified ownership on the blockchain.
It's interesting because I was explaining to someone the other day, NFTs, and they're like, yeah, but I just don't get it. I'm like, well, you ever bought a ticket to catch a flight before? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, where's that stored? They're like, online. I was like, that's basically what an NFT is, to shorten it. And then so when people start getting that concept, they're like, this is not the craziest idea in the world. It's not like we've reinvented the wheel. We've just used a new technology to hold that asset as on the blockchain and verified.
Exactly. And in the way in dev world too, another way you can think of the verification or the value of NFTs is the trust factor of it. So if it's an NFT and it's on a ledger, it means it's public. Everyone can see that. Therefore, it's not stored in some back-end cloud server that no one can see. You know, I talk about it with code. Like when I build an app product, you know, the data on the product is protected by a privacy policy and a terms of use, which is all in the English language, you know, and this says what we're gonna do. Yeah. But as a dev, like you can just go on the back end, anything's possible on a server. Like it's got words as protection, right? Yeah. But with blockchain technology, you have code as protection. Yeah. So you can enforce rules using code because it's open and immutable. Like imagine if you had a system where I store all my sensitive data there, and every time that's viewed or used or sold, because it's a public ledger, every single action related to that can be seen. And that's the beauty of blockchain. And that's why big companies find it scary, because it is pure transparency. Like everything, and that solves problems, but that's also scary because it is a paradigm shift from what it is, right?
Well, they lose the control, right?
Yeah, you lose control. And we build a lot of stuff based on secrecy. You know, we think of like boardroom meetings, we think of politics, you know, you have decisions made in closed door rooms that affect the masses, but we don't even know what's discussed at the table that comes to this conclusion. This is why blockchain is so like revolutionary, because it changes everything, right? Imagine if we do bring transparency into these major decision-making things that impact everyone. It solves problems, but it also, it solves many problems. However, it's a threat to what is. And that's why I think there is it's not just the speculative foul players who have messed up the space. People sort of don't want this because it changes the way things are done completely. And that's the paradigm shift. And that's it's so different to what is. And that it's scary but exciting, and it requires a whole different way of thinking to actually use it properly.
Let's go back to the athletic side of it. How do you think that the Web3 can play into like using Web3 technology for athletes in the future?
Yeah, so I just think at the base level, every single piece of performance data I produce as an athlete should be tokenized, and I should own it. Everything. Yeah. If I run...
What does that mean? Like what currently happens?
So at the moment in track and field, you do a result, and the result is posted online. So World Athletics is the major source. All your results get put on their website, and that's like their central source of truth. And you can view my profile and see all my stats. You know, I would propose that's great, we can have that, but that stat should be tokenized, and I should have an athlete wallet where it can be linked to me as ownership. So if that stat's used, or if that stat's sold on, or it's used in something that's creating value, there should be a kickback for me, right? I think another thing as athletes as well is you think about something like the Olympics. You go to the Olympics, they film you, it's a whole product, right? You're an Olympic athlete at the Olympics, bringing eyes to the event. They can film it, they have all the rights to that filming. I don't know how exactly the deal works. But as an athlete at this point in time, I can't actually grab that content and say I have any ownership over it, even though it's me, because I didn't film it and I didn't have the rights to it. Whereas I think at a simple level, there should be some sort of system there, which I think you can do with blockchain, where I can say, well, I'm the athlete in that video. I should have something of that. Yeah. And blockchain can do that. So they're the two. So tokenizing stats and tokenizing yourself and anything attached to you. So you have ownership. And then if you have ownership, you can do a lot more.
That's sick.
But that's literally what I'm building. I actually have a working version as well. So this is like it. I don't know if you can see that. It's an app I'm building. So this is a way for an athlete to create an account, which is also a wallet, but you don't need to know that, where you can have it's just loading, all your stats in your account and tokenized. Hopefully this works. Don't you hate it when like you want to display something and it doesn't work? Get connected. There we go. Oh yeah, so I can just show you like this. This is what I've sort of been working on. So it's like you have an athlete account. It has all your stats in there, so you can see everything I've done for the last 10 years. So it's stored in an account I own, which is also a wallet, but people don't need to know that. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
And so basically it's like a LinkedIn for athletes where all their accolades and information is stored, and you can find out how good they actually are or what they're progressing like. You can connect and share. It's like everything a track and field athlete would want, basically. And I know that because I am that, and I'm in that very deeply. And then the cool thing about it is we have like digital collectibles as well. So that's like tokenizing data and performances, and everything can be on the chain. So you think about if someone signs memorabilia, like an athlete signs memorabilia, we think that's valuable. What if you could digitally sign memorabilia and do it on the blockchain? So therefore its value is really encased in something. So
That's so sick.
I'm trying to like bring these things we understand in sports world into the digital world. And like, it's so exciting. Like,
If going on that, because I think it's super interesting, would you think that the easiest way to explain to someone who has no idea, it's like if you think about like Strava as a good example, it's like you're posting to a platform where you actually then own the data and not someone else.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Because like if you've done a run and it gets on Strava, that's great. But Strava has just introduced all these new rules where basically before you could like bring that data to other platforms and like share it in different ways because it's yours, right? Well, technically. But they're now stopping that. So what happens is these companies, create these great platforms which we love, like Strava, where you can put all your information and connect. But then once you're on there and they got you in and they've got your attention, they lock your data in there. So you can't really take it wherever you want, even though you've done it. So it sort of gridlocks you. And my whole idea is that, no, we should open it up. Like we should be able to, I think of it very differently where previously in tech world, if you build an app, your users are called consumers, right? I don't think like that. I think my users are contributors, right? So if I want them to contribute data to my platform, I have to provide as much value as possible for them to do that because it's their data. I'm just creating a little platform for them. I'm creating a digital experience. I'm creating the house where they can walk around and explore, and I want to make sure it's good enough for them to do that and to showcase their stuff there. So
because then you're building a community, right? It's like it then becomes like they actually want to be part of what you're building instead of like just being, as you said, like a contributor instead of like a consumer.
Yeah, it's a very different way of thinking because innately my platform does have transparency about it. If it's on the blockchain, right? And the user's account is a wallet, I have to make sure that A, it's super usable, but secondly, it's really transparent in the way we handle the data. And if they are tokenizing it and it is theirs, they have to have the ability to take it away if all of a sudden they don't like the platform. So those are things that you generally don't think about in tech world because that's not good for your bottom line. But my theory is your bottom line will be looked after if you're providing so much value and actually looking after your end user or contributor.
100%.
So it's definitely a different way of thinking. So.
Yeah, I love that. So we need to roll soon?
Probably like 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about like when you first started off with logos. You're telling me that your dad told you should get an ABN and sort of just go for it. What was that like sort of experience like?
Yeah.
And
my dad was always very encouraging growing up. I used to work for him since I was like 13. I designed all these invoices and quote, designs when I was a kid. He'd pay me like $10 an hour just to sit with him and work. And I loved it because I loved working with my dad. And he told me, like he was a carer. And then all of a sudden he hurt his back. And so he was a roofer, hurt his back and then got into caring, which he wasn't making a lot of money off, right? And then eventually one day he sort of got his health back again and he started doing roofing and he decided to start his own business. And he was quite successful from the beginning because maybe some people just have the gift for it. And he basically just told me like straight up, he's like, Tori, business is all just relationship. Just get an ABN. You can do it at any age, just go for it. If you can sell something of value, you can do it. And so basically when I finished high school, I didn't get an ABN straight away. Instead, I did this online logo design competition where if you win $200. And people just submit designs from all around the world. And then the first one I did, I won. And I won $200 at 18. And I was like, I can make money doing this? And it was like really cool. And so I then did a logo for my dad and I built his website and I started doing a lot of work for free. I was doing more online competitions and winning money. got an ABN and then just started doing work because I had a bit of a portfolio and would do it dirt cheap. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't earning a lot of money. I still worked at a cafe and whatever, but I was getting experience and I really loved it because every job I had, I didn't quite know how to do it, but I worked it out. And I ended up creating a little business and getting a logo on my shirt. And I think I had a foot injury at the time and I went to my sports doctor and I was wearing my business shirt. And he said to me, well, what do you do? And I said, oh, I build websites and do logo. And he's like, oh, really? And he's like, is that your business? I'm like, yeah. He's like, come talk to my practice manager. Anyways, I sold a website right there to the sports doctors, which was like still my client to this day. But it was the biggest job I had at that time. And they asked for something and it was basically going to get the sale over the line. I didn't know how to do it, but I said yes. I said, yeah, I can do that. And then I worked it out. So that's really where I get a lot of my confidence in what I do, because if you can have a problem-solving mindset and just have a go and understand business is relationship.
Yeah, just go for it.
Just go for it. Yeah, like, and then, you start to figure out the more you do, the better you get. Experience is everything. And now I've been doing this for I think this is my 11th year doing digital development. I'm not really a freelancer anymore because I got my own company and do things a bit more professionally, but I still feel that freelancer type because I'm always open to those conversations. You never know where an opportunity lies, whether you're just chatting to someone and they find out what you do and then they like you and they're like, oh, maybe I want to work with you.
Yeah.
So it was very humble beginnings. I loved it. Yeah.
That's really cool. All right, let's keep it going on that because I think that's super interesting. It's really interesting because so I grew up in the country, you grew up in the country as well, out of Townsville.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that when it comes to country town, that has I guess contribute to that hustle side of it? Because I feel coming from a country town, it's a lot more just grind it, sort of get it done. Or where do you think that stemmed from?
Yeah, I think coming from a small town, definitely changes the way you think a lot. I think when you're in the city, because it is so competitive and it is more shark world, I guess.
Yeah.
I felt that there was no competition in what I was doing in Townsville because there wasn't many people that had the ambition I had. So therefore, I just always felt like I could move very freely, right? Yeah. And I always felt, I felt like I outgrew it very quickly. And that process, when I moved to the city, I felt like, oh, okay, I'm a small fish again. And then I outgrew that really quickly. Yeah. So I think coming from a small town gives you a different perspective. You're not so easily boxed. I feel pretty blessed to be in Australia because I've never felt a class system from how I grew up. If I went to a state school whereas someone went to a grammar school, I never felt that difference. Yeah. Because I felt you could achieve anything. It wasn't until I came to the city where that stuff was more valued. And I was like, I just didn't understand it. I'm like,
you don't know what you don't know. Hey?
Yeah, exactly. So does coming from a small town make me more driven? No, I think yes it does, but I also think it makes me more grounded. Yeah. Because I know where I came from, but I can still go to these heights. Yeah. But I can still engage at this because this is what I grew up in, and it's not unfamiliar. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. All right, we can leave it there, I reckon, for now. Just down the road, 10-minute walk.
Yeah. So pretty much right next to that big chimney up there, wherever it turns up. So today, it's a speed and hurdles day, and we also have three other guys. So Sam coaches 2 of us, so myself and Taleb. So Taleb's he went to the Olympics as well for the hurdles. Yeah. Very talented. He's actually a bit of a social media star as well. I think he has 600,000 followers on TikTok or something like that. It's pretty crazy.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah, he's a very charismatic, very good young dude, very good guy. So Sam coaches both of us, and then Taylor brings 2 training partners, so he's got people to run with. Yeah. And then I usually sometimes TM with the boys, but we're trying to work out so I can get some other girls to come train with us. So it's always good to train with others. But it's very hard to tee up stuff because people got jobs. Yeah. Thursday morning isn't always the best time.
Not the best.
Yeah.
You know how we were talking about logos and your first website, when you first developed that, when did you realize that I think this is going to be a lot more than just website development and logo design?
So I think it was weird. I grew up going to church. Oh, who, Lucas? I grew up going to church, right? And you know, in church world, they always talk about hearing God, like, you know. And I wasn't like I wasn't the most attentive person at church. Oftentimes, I'd be in my book in my own world, but oftentimes I'd think, okay, God, what are you gonna tell me today? And then I'd just write all these ideas in my book, and I started just having, sometimes when I was at church as a kid or a teenager, just like ideas of things, of like understanding cloud systems and like, what if we could do with this? And I realized, if I can like figure out how to make a website or how to do this, why can't I figure out how to do this? I just started to realize anything was possible. And I think the church side helps you believe in something bigger. So that's probably been something that's inspired me.
And then so how did it go from design into tech?
It was a natural evolution. I just realized that clients didn't just want a logo, they wanted to sell stuff, right? You know, they don't just want to design, they want to design to get people's attention and to do things. And I realized, well, if I can build a website, then I can build an e-commerce website. If I build an e-commerce website, there's extra functionality in there. The first app I built, was just a website client who wanted something extra. So,
Yeah, right.
yeah, so Tasmania have their own version of that. They do like 3 races through Hobart, Devon, and Burnie.
Yeah.
So I'll get to race those for the week.
That's pretty sick.
Handicap. I don't think they'll give me a good handicap, so I won't be a winner.
Yeah.
But I'll have some fun.
Yeah.
It's a great way to race and like without pressure.
Yeah.
Because I find after a big season, people are always looking at each other's times and stuff. So if you can race without having explicit results out there for people to speculate on, like that's a great start to the season.
Hell yeah.
So, athletics is a very speculative sport as well. No wonder why I'm drawn to blockchain. A lot of data, a lot of numbers. You know, whenever I post early season results, I'm like, here's some data for you, like, analysts to speculate on. Tell me how much I'm going to score this season.
Do you play the game and you just sort of like change it up too?
I play games. No one ever knows where I'm at until I turn up. Got 2 lots of dragonflies. These ones are a bit worn. When I traveled for the Olympics, I had 14 pairs of spikes in my bag. It was crazy. So I'll give some insight into training if you want now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm in my 4th block of off-season training. So off-season training is a lot of volume. It's a lot of hard work that builds the base for a big season. If I'm talking about blockchain stuff, I'm in an accumulation phase. I'm accumulating until I'm ready to like peak and, you know, hit some speculative bull runs.